Hi everyone, so today we're going to be taking a look at the EVGA Z370 Classified K. Okay, so straight into what's in the box. Now for an EVGA, I would say it's a bit light in here. You get an SLI bridge, you get a couple of thermal pads for your M.2s, and then you've literally got the IO shield, two SATA cables, and your manual with a driver CD inside. That's it. It's very thin. Normally I'm used to EVGAs being really kind of like feature packed and there's just loads and loads of accessories inside. This is totally the opposite. So to have a look around the board itself, we'll start at the top. You have a 2-pin and a 4-pin and an 8-pin power up here, and then you've got one of the system fans just to the left hand side of it. As we come across, we've got the two CPU fans. If you see I've got dirty nails, it's because it's actually black silicon from when I've been working at the workshop and I can't get it off. So don't think that it's like dirty. Anyway, changing the subject. So up here we've got two RGB connectors up here. Then we've got another fan down the side. We have the power and the reset plus a PCI poster readout here. Now with the power and the reset, power lights up and you've got the power light. The reset flashes with your hard drive activity light. Can be a bit off-putting. You do get an onboard USB 3.1 connector though. We've got 6 SATA connectors there. You have a BIOS selector switch that you can use here. Then we've got USB 3 header, front panel header for all your switches and your LEDs for your case. USB 2s here, another couple of fans here. Weirdly, you do get an onboard speaker. Now, it does bleep every time you start it up and it does feel a bit old school. Some of you may really like it. For me personally, it drove me nuts. I know it's only when it first starts up. I suppose I've just got used to not having it. This is for if you populate all your graphics cards and stuff. Just for those beginners of you out there, you do not need to connect this for it to work. So if you want to save yourself some cabling, don't worry about this. I would have assumed that 99.9% of you out there are not going to need this. You do get some steel reinforcing around your PCI Express slots, and you can see here that we have three PCI Express connectors. But what you can see is that this one is a tiny little itty bitty one, so you're going to have to go careful with that one. It might be useful for some of you out there that are using some of the smaller drives or maybe even like add-on items and stuff. Now you can see that we've got plenty of power around the outside of the CPU. You can see all of the phases there. You can see the nice heat sinks up here as well. This cover can be unscrewed really easily. So if the silver, which it is, doesn't kind of float your boat, then it's only plastic. You could easily pop it off and paint it to whatever colour that you like, or you could just pop it off and leave it entirely, because you've got the heat sinks. They do feel kind of basic compared to some of the other brands, especially where this is one of the higher end ones. But if you were to take it off, then the design would fit in slightly better. I think I would personally go with a little bit of colour coding though, and it would be easy enough to mask this up and maybe put a flash of colour down this as well. Round on the back, you do get a DisplayPort and a HDMI at the top and a BIOS clear switch up here as well. Then you've got 6 SATAs, a couple of Ethernets. You've got your USB 3.1 Gen 2 over here with an A and a C, and then your audio. There's nothing really to report around the back, nothing special, but it does the job. Layout is good. I didn't mention that the memory DIMMs have got some steel support around them as well to kind of help with a little bit of longevity. But aesthetics wise, it's all going to come down to whether you can live with the silvery kind of look. And the heat sinks, although they're basic, they do have a kind of an industrial-esque look to them as well. It's all going to come down to what you want. But the rest of the motherboard, it's all kind of a matte black PCB, fairly well laid out and quite clean as well. It's not too busy. Okay then, so into the thick of the conclusion, a good chit chat, because that's what I do, and yeah, we'll kind of like do a big wrap up. Now, straight away, I'm going to say to you, you can go to the OC3D website to look at all of our results, all of our testing. You can see there about the overclocks. You can see there about the performance numbers and stuff as well. For this video, I'm just going to leave the graphs out and we're going to get down to the nitty gritty and we're going to do some chatting. Now, I have to say that I was expecting a little bit more out of the Classify K on a couple of areas. One area was kind of confusing and I'll get that out the way first. Load line calibration. So I went in, and we weren't getting too bad load line calibration with it on auto because there are 3 settings and it's auto, enabled and disabled. Now, they call it V-droop. So with load line calibration, which is what it was there to kind of do, it was there to stop V-droop or enable V-droop. They've worded it strangely. So anyway, on auto with 1.3 volts set in the BIOS, we were getting around 1.32 volts. Now, at that, we were trying to get 5 gigahertz stable that we could get with the other boards, and we were struggling with 4.9 on the Classified K because of heat problems. So I was trying to filter out it, putting the voltages up too much, because we do know that when you go above 1.3 volts on hours, it can get a bit toasty. It's just kind of a thermal limit on hours. It can be different on your CPUs at home though. I have another CPU here that is much cooler, but we have to use the exact same CPU for all of our Z370 reviews to make it fair. So I was trying to find a way to kind of, start with the basics and get the volts where I wanted them to be. Now, I enabled the V-droop setting and it did exactly that. It actually turns all the load line calibration off. It's a bit back to front. So when you enable the setting, you enable the board to become substandard, and the volts were going from 1.3 down to 1.2, 1.22. Now that's completely the opposite to the way that all of the other boards on all of the brands kind of go about it, and it was really confusing. So yeah, it straight away made me go to EVGA and say your load line calibration is not working. As soon as you enable it, it kind of goes off altogether. And then it took them a weekend and a couple of crappy emails from engineers. And by emails from engineers, they were like, oh no, it's all absolutely fine, it all works. And they were basically saying my testing and the software that I was using was incorrect. What it actually turned out to be, when they bothered to go and look at it, was, oh no, what you actually have to do, randomly, is disable the setting, because then you disable the V-droop. Now, when you explain it like that, it makes a little bit more sense. But where it's exactly the opposite to all the other ones, I don't know. I think it's, personally, I think it's a little bit backwards. It's almost like they're purposely trying to either confuse us or make you guys at home leave it on auto, because it's basically auto turns it on, enable turns it, or we're going to, auto means you don't have V-droop, enabled means you do have a lot of V-droop and it's horrendous, and disabled means you don't have V-droop. I don't know. To me, that's totally and utterly back to front. But the thing is at 1.3 volts with it on auto, the temperatures were incredibly high. Now, to explain to you guys at home, some of you that might not know, there are a lot of voltages behind the scenes that we just can't touch. They're not enabled for us to be able to tweak. Now, something somewhere is a bit wrong, because the board overall was somewhere between 6 to 10 degrees hotter than what we would have been expecting, to the point we would turn heating off. We were making sure that, we were literally trying to get it cooler to try and work out what the hell was going on. So it was much warmer than we were prepared for. Even then, so that was when we were trying to get 5. We had to go back down to 4.9 to be able to get it stable, because we were getting heat problems. And even then, we were experiencing slight heat problems compared with the other boards using similar settings. We went in and changed some of the other settings in the BIOS, like trying to tame some of the other voltages down to try and cure it, and it just didn't seem to be something that we could find the root cause of. So it was one of those ones where we could only get 4.9 from it. Now, most of the high-end boards that we have had a chance to get our hands on have got 5 from our chip. every single one of the ones we've ever tested has done 4.9, but even the low end ones could get 4.9 stable. So there's still something that's not quite right there. My personal point of view, the load line calibration thing, maybe it's, you know, it's common, but it's something for me really kind of confused me. And in my personal opinion, please feel free to tell me I'm wrong, especially those of you out there that are very invested in the EVGA brand and like using EVGA products. It made no sense to me. The BIOS itself was lovely to use. It was very fluid. There was loads of options in there. I genuinely didn't have any issues getting around. It was just, I felt a little bit kind of held back, and I expected more from one of the upper end ones. At 4.9, it performed well. It would perform as you would have expected it for a 4.9 gigahertz overclock. Didn't yomp to the top of any of the graphs because clearly it's going to be running lower than some of the other ones, but it did okay. I don't know though. For me though, okay with a classified just seemed to be like I said before, I expected a little more from it. So yes, it's a confusing one. It's a lovely board to look at. It was nice and easy to use. I do just think, now the thing is that although Z370 has been out a long time, EVGA are quite new to the party with their range of products. So my gut feeling is it is still something that needs a little bit of polish. I think if they get the cattle prods out and jub the BIOS engineers, it is something that could get fixed and sorted out. Temperatures, so that there are voltages somewhere that need reining in. It's not, you know, I've tested lots of different boards, so we've got a good range of results, so I know what I can get from my chip, and I'm fully aware of the ambient temperatures and deltas and all of that sort of thing. So before their engineers start making excuses, I can promise you, compared to a couple of the other competition, even if you do just pick two rather than, you know, all of them, this does just need a little bit of polish. And the reason why I'm pushing them to do it, and this is something that I cannot get across enough, is I'm not here to just say it's bad. I'm here to say there are a couple of things that if they sorted it out, it could be much better. And with something like the BIOS, it's not a total board redesign. It's just a couple of things that an engineer needs to kind of realise he needs to spend a bit of time trying to fix his product to make it the best it possibly could be. Because as it is at the moment, it's not. Now that's not a don't buy it line, because I would say this deserves the OC3D approved award. Now the OC3D approved award is our entry level award. It's our way of saying it deserves to be on your shortlist. It deserves to be in the mix for consideration. But the problem is with the K, especially when you mix in the kind of price and the features and that sort of thing, there is a lot of competition, and in all honesty there's some competition out there that I would say for around the same sort of money performs better than that. But again, I come back to the fact that the competition has been out there a long time, and the BIOS is much more mature than this product. So it's kind of, you know, there are going to be those of you out there that are just looking to buy something that's not from one of the Power 3. And I would commend you as well. Some of you out there are probably already going to have been invested in one of the epic EVGA graphics cards, and you want your motherboard to match. Totally understand that as well. You just need to realise at the moment there are a couple of caveats where it kind of trips over, and I, probably as well as you guys, hope that the BIOS engineers realise I am just trying to help, and if they spend a little bit of time on it, it could be significantly better. So that is my overview, that is my review. Don't forget you can go to the OC3D website and you can see all of the graphs and all of that sort of stuff there. I did just want to whittle this out in a verbal chat because it was going to be the easiest way that I was going to get to do it. Great board, needs a tiny little bit more work to eke the best from it so that it can get up there and start arguing with the Power 3, rather than at the moment having a board that all of the kind of everything's kind of there, but the BIOS is letting it down a bit. So this has been the tiniest of Logans, and this is me out.